Welcome everybody to another part of the show, because you know what, I'm still trying to get used to it because it's the show. I'm trying to tell myself now it's the show because at this point it's beyond. But let's welcome returning guest Heather Woodward. Heather, welcome back.
Hi.
Hey Heather. So last time we had you on, we kind of split your chat up with me because we kind of were talking about Eerie, Arkansas, because of your I think it was called like Haunted Hour or something, basically Dogman thing. We talked about Slenderman on that topic and a little bit more. It kind of went all over the place. But this time you have a lot going on since then. So, I mean, I guess what have you been up to? Should we even start with that?
There's so many things. What have I been up to? I'm trying to condense my projects down to like just one or two. So, but we have a documentary coming out this month, which is July. And then I have another documentary that's in the works already that I have to go do some filming for. And then I have another one that's coming up that's in production that I didn't mean to like do. So it all came about. And then I might be writing another book. I don't know yet. I turned in my presentation, or whatever you want to call it, my proposal, as they say. And it's up against the board right now, which is this fancy word for it's on somebody's desk and they just need to put a check mark on it.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of funny how the world kind of just pushes stuff and makes it fall on your lap. Because like last time, I guess for a recap for those that may not have had a chance, but we had mentioned your upcoming project, Spirit of the Place, and you were talking about trying to finish that up, but now that seems to be having its own mind where you have to go to a few places and get some new footage from the sound of it. So, I mean, there's that. So, and real quick, last time for those wondering, we got Eerie, Arkansas, because
it's Eerie, Arkansas, yeah.
Jeez,
it's Arkansas,
right.
but you can say Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm canceled already because I can't even pronounce these damn names. So, yeah, I'm canceled. All right, anyway. Oh, and I think we briefly mentioned this book too, Ghost Towns and Forgotten Places of Northwest Arkansas. So yeah, there we go. There's another one for my brain to just love up. But real quick now, I guess you had this event show up back in May, I think, or May, June, maybe. I'm trying to remember now. It's hard to keep track of every event that going around the globe nowadays, but you had an event recently for like Eerie, Oklahoma, and I was just like, oh, Heather's got a new book. Then I find out it was actually released on August 1st, 2022. So I was just like, oh, so it's not too like new, but it's like new to me, So I guess it works out in the very end. So I guess just to help Heather out, the little plot for Eerie, Oklahoma is with a flash of green light, a portal opens up in the Beaver Dunes, but even the strangeness of another dimension struggle to compete with Oklahoma's hair-raising heritage. The woods still whisper of a woman with dull eyes and deadly hooves, and Tulsa's ivy-covered Hex House.
Mm-hmm.
Remains haunted by the ghost of its infamously manipulative. Yeah, that word that always hates me too. Basically, a very bad owner. And from the traveling memory of John Wilkes Booth to the grandma who seasoned plum cake with arsenic. Arsenic. Yeah, thank you. And then it basically ends by saying it explored the peculiar and petrifying portions of Oklahoma's past. So, yeah. Sounds very interesting. I must say I love the artwork. We'll bring that up real quick. First off, from what I've noticed, it's like a pentacle star with all this strange phenomenon that I think was basically mentioned in this, and an octopus, Bigfoot or something. So yeah, I must say the first thing that caught my eye was just the cover alone. So I don't know whose idea that was, except for Rebecca and Lindsay, but yours too.
It was my idea.
Nice. So talk to us about that. Like why like the pentacle type like star symbolizing the different phenomenon, I guess. Oh, or is it maybe real quick now that I'm actually thinking about it, the 5 points for the 5 elements?
No, it's actually it's close to the Oklahoma flag. There's like a star on it or something like that. And so those are just like the things that we write about in the book, and I thought it would be really, really interesting to like make it more paranormal. And it's funny because everybody loves that cover, and it's actually my best-selling book. And my editor asked me, like, why does that book sell so much better than the others? I'm all, I want to say it's the artwork, but I don't want to be rude. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Also, for whatever reason, there are more paranormal people in Oklahoma than there are Arkansas. Bigfoot. A lot of Bigfoot people in Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's like eye catching, that's for sure, and that's like what you want on a bookshelf.
Yeah,
eye catching.
Yeah.
So I definitely say it wins on the eye catching for sure. So I guess, Heather, where do you want to start off with this to kind of help us with this weird Oklahoma fascination for your book here?
So Oklahoma is like a weird state. It's terrible when it comes to politics. I mean, they really, really, really love white nationalism in Oklahoma. So it is like one of the weirdest states when it comes to politics. Like, you just, man, even if you're conservative, it's a little too conservative. It's very like on the spectrum. But for what it lacks in politics, it definitely is one of the weirdest states when it comes to paranormal stuff and just strange things happening there. I had so much stuff to write about that I literally just had to like chop half the book because there was too many. I've never had that happen where like there's too much. Usually I have to scrounge and be like, okay, what am I going to write about? With that one, my outline was so long that I was like, yeah, I'm never going to finish if I do it. But there's a lot of cryptids, and there's a lot of like, they have like festivals for Bigfoot. So there's a lot of Bigfoot stuff happening. And Oklahoma per capita actually has more Bigfoot sightings than Oregon. So it is actually number one. It's number one in the whole United States. Oklahoma is, and so, I mean, there might be more Bigfoot sightings in Oregon and on the Pacific Northwest, but not per capita. So it's an interesting thing. So there are like a lot of Bigfoot sightings, and also there was some governor trying to put through a law to make Bigfoot like an actual endangered animal or something like that. So you had to get a permit to go look for it. I don't know if it went through or not, but it was just like this weird piece of government. It's in the book where he was like, let's just call it out for what it is. Bigfoot's here, so like let's
right,
make it a thing. But and then there's this huge convention that happens where they actually go into the middle of the woods and they go searching for Bigfoot. It's like, I was writing about it and looking at the map, and it's literally out in the middle of nowhere. Like you're 20 miles outside of anything that is remotely infrastructure, and like your cell phones don't work out there or anything. So like prepare, because you don't have internet, you don't have cell phone, you don't have food, you don't have anything. Like you're boned. And so people go out there every year, and it's this huge festival, and the whole time all they do is go look for Bigfoot. And I was like, this is such an interesting thing. I wonder if it's like real. I wonder if people go. And then I went to this convention in Kansas last year, and I met some people that actually went to it, and they're like, yep, I go every year, and every year you go out there and people just don't have anything. They just kind of like deactivate their lives, turn off their phones, and go look for Bigfoot. It's like this big deal. So,
right. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I just know, like here where I am, for like the New York side, we have local author Paul Bartholomew that basically kind of gave that idea for the New York side to like protect Bigfoot, which actually went through. So there's that. On the Vermont side, we do have the whole protect champ thing, and there's also that protect champ on the New York side. I'm not sure about Canada. So if that's the case, we almost have, if indeed Canada has a protection law for champ, then maybe champ is fully protected, but I cannot confirm if Canada has such law for champ. But it's interesting nonetheless that champ has that type of protection from New York and Vermont. Bigfoot, no, I'm pretty sure we don't have a protection law for Bigfoot yet in Vermont. I will double check during this conversation because now this has sparked my interest for sure. But I guess and you kind of answered my question already. So this is a book where you actually had way too much happening going on that you just had to post them out. So have you ever thought about maybe going back to maybe calling it something else? Like, I don't know, example, like maybe like, I don't know, Eerie, Oklahoma Part 2 or something, because it's hard to see that sort of structure anymore with books. Sometimes it's like a one and done deal, but then again, how many books do we really need to say the same thing over and over, if that makes any sense?
Totally. Yeah. I have different stories now too. Like, it's funny how it works out, because when I was writing the book in 2022, a lot of the stuff I didn't really know about, I was learning about it as I was going along. And, in the last 4 years, I've definitely tracked more areas and went to some of the places that I didn't get to go to before. And I was like, oh man, now there's like so many stories that I want to tell. So like, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stuff now. I mean, I can write 2 or 3 more books on Oklahoma. It's one of those places where you have the Native American lore that is huge. And then there's Bigfoot, and then there's the octopus, the 10 killer octopus, which is funny because it actually comes from a TV show, and I found the inception of it, and it's a stupid TV show. I forgot what it's called. And I watched the episode, and it was one of those like caught on tape like episodes, but it was totally fake. And like the lake that they were, because I've been to 10 Killer Lake, the lake that they were was like not even in the state. I don't know where they were, but I'm like, that is not 10 Killer Lake. And there's like this octopus that comes out and it drags your boat underwater. I know. And it was just the stupidest thing, but because I'm dumb, I was like, well, maybe there is one in the lake, maybe. So we went out in 30-degree weather. It was almost snowing. And we're like, let's do some EVPs to see if we can contact.
Oh man.
The octopus in the lake. And yeah. So I don't know. I just thought, like, why not? Why not go? So we went down this ramp down to like with our car, and I know you're not supposed to do that, but we did. We went down to the bottom of the ramp, almost into the water, and was like, if you have anything to say, if you want to redeem yourself, here's the tape recorder.
Oh man. So I just looked it up with Google, going back to Bigfoot for a minute. So there is no like bills or laws in the Vermont side. If anything, Vermont has made Bigfoot into like an inside joke for the whole funding of like complex high education stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so
What's
Nothing
that?
too.
I was trying to find the 10 killer lake octopus. Of course, it comes right up. Yeah, because it's a bit like anytime you mention 10 killer, people are like, oh, do you know about the octopus? Like, it is such a popular story, but I can't remember where was it? It was from this TV show, and it's so from the TV show because like I can't find it in here, but
It's not like River Monsters or something, right?
no, it was even dumber than that. Not that Earth monsters are dumb, but those kind of shows.
No.
It's like it's even I forget what it's called, but it's so dumb. I watched it and I did a whole like summary in the book because I was like, this is hilarious. But a lot of people haven't seen that episode. They just know about the 10 killer octopus, and I don't know. It's a rampant one. Anytime, like even now, sometimes I go Lake 10 Killer just to see what people say, and they're like, "Oh, have you heard of the octopus?" And I just laugh because I'm like, "Okay."
I mean, I guess it could be definitely worse. I don't know if I should mention it on here, but I mean, we definitely found it. Well, I found it, and then you have confirmed that you've heard of it before. Maybe that's all I should say, but when I just found out about it, of course, everybody had to talk about it in our little group too. Because, for the record, people, Heather is another member of like a group chat that we do with these collabs. So it's nice to get Heather back on to really like. Well, first off, like give her the video spotlight that she deserves, especially with her book, and if she wants to share anything too. But I think it helps too that way. Anyway, what I'm getting at though is I found this particular thing that I was just like, what? I'd never heard of this because I was watching some TV show and I had mentioned it, and I was just like, wait, what? So I looked it up myself, and it's like a quote for it, and I was just like, no. And then I'm reading more of it, and then our group was reading more into it, and it just became like a really fun idea. So why not? It's that spaghetti monster thing. But yeah, oh my god, that's all I'm gonna say. But man, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, our chat is a bunch of podcasters, and we all do way too much research.
Gabrielle does, that's for sure.
Yeah, she does. But we all do way too much research. So you put something in the chat, and it's just scroll because everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of this. I've heard of this part. What about this part? Like, what about this? What about this theory? What about that theory?" And I'm like, "Oh man."
Yeah.
We all just read articles all day while we're at work bored.
Or we listen to some video, maybe like some stupid 30-second thing, but it's still interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So octopus, that kind of reminds me of actually, you know what? This would be falling near the sea serpent day. I guess we could almost call this octopus a sea serpent in a weird way. But so I found this old actually, I have it up here, and I think I have this too to help back this claim. So anyway, yeah. So first, let me show this real quick, and I'm gonna blow myself up for a minute. So I have this old Vermont Life magazine from like winter of 1975, and just so you know, this used to be like $1. I think I paid like $8 for the thing just to have for my collection now. But this interesting Vermont Life magazine has a particular creature in it that I don't even know what to think of it, but this is really interesting. So here is a screenshot that I took from an actual like internet archive for the public eye. So this is used for the public because I'm assuming it's there on the internet. You can see it publicly. So anyway, this particular article caught my attention where it talked about this Lake Champlain monster of Champ, and then it goes into Woodbury. This is supposedly supposed to be our Woodbury water witch, which makes no sense to me because it just looks like another sea serpent. So why would you call it a water witch when it's not like an entity like I don't know, like a witch? It's more like a sea serpent. But it's just fascinating because when you read this article, this Mr. Crane is basically trying to say, well, if Lake Champlain has Champ, then Woodbury has its own too. Almost saying like, hey, come to Woodbury to see this Woodbury water witch because it totally exists. And then you look at this episode, you look at this like picture that's in the article, and I can't zoom in or anything, but if you really look at this thing, it looks like it was like photoshopped on there. Like it doesn't even look real, even though they tried their best to try to make it look like there's a reflection, but it's terrible. And I was just like, okay, so this is like some sort of joke or something. So they're not really taking it seriously.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the octopus goes, I mean, octopus or octopi or however you want to say it, they're saltwater creatures, so like the likelihood of there being an octopus in Temecula Lake is kind of null and void. But people just forget about that part. And I'm like, what about a squid? And like, no, it's not a squid. And I'm like, a squid, they might be able to live in. They have a higher chance of living in like not saltwater, or freshwater. But no, it has to be the octopus. I'm like, okay, but the water witch thing is interesting because like Oklahoma has their own version of a witch. I'm using bunny ears, but it's the deer woman, and the deer woman is an interesting story about a woman who shows up and she's always wearing black, of course, and she's a beautiful woman, and she usually has a black veil on or something very black, and she's like very noticeable, and she's very sultry, red lipstick, the whole thing. The whole vibe. And she comes to men, and usually men who have cheated or who have done something nefarious to other women, and then she brings them out into the woods like, I'm gonna have sex with you, and then she stomps them to death with her feet because she's got deer feet, and then she like kills them out in the woods. And I was like, oh, that was an interesting one. But she will also show up to women who need help. And like, what do you need help with, or what do you need? So she'll listen to your story, and then all of a sudden, the person that you were talking to her about ends up disappearing. So there's two sides of it, and I always thought that was a really interesting one. And people see her mostly in this one area where there's a park in Tulsa, and I was not able to get to the park, and I just went to the park a few months ago. A Mohawk Park is what it's called. And I could see her living there. I was like, okay, now I know why people. It's a park with like a lake, and then like there's a zoo there and a bunch of other stuff. There's a picnic area, but if you go out in the back where the museum is, there's water there, but it's just like full forest. People also see Bigfoot back there too. That's why I was back there. Because I was like, what's back here? But I can see how like a deer woman could live there. What's interesting about that though is just like 2 months ago, I was talking to this Native American woman, and she's from Oklahoma, and she mentioned the deer woman. And I was like, funny that you mentioned that. I wrote a book about that. Do you think that's real? And she told me, oh yeah, we've seen deer woman on the reservation. I'm like, you have? And she's like, yeah. She's like, she usually shows up at events. She's like, I was a little kid. She said she was like under 10, and she talked to a woman that was all in all black and very sultry and beautiful, and she was asking her questions. And then she asked her grandma, who was that? And her grandma said, that's the deer woman.
Oh boy.
And, yeah. And she said she never forgot that. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. She says, yeah, a lot of people see the deer woman reservation. People know not to go towards her. And I'm like, okay. But like, how do they know? You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's what I was.
Yeah.
How do they know? But it's usually, the other thing too is men know about the deer woman too, and they know not to go with her. But usually she picks men who are inebriated or are like smoking or doing drugs. so they don't really like their guard is down, and that's usually how she gets them into the forest. So
that's kind of like what you hear with like these evil presences that they look for the weaker ones that are easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, but she won't kill unless you've done something to another woman. So if you beat somebody, if you assaulted somebody, it's always men that have a background of abuse. So she's very like pro women, and like if and this is what I learned too, if there was a man that ended up in the woods that's been stomped to death or killed, it's probably the dear woman, and he probably deserved it. And that's what people just assume right out of the bat, like right off the bat. Like those are, people don't talk about it, but they talk about it on themselves. So it's interesting because if you're a man and you end up dead in the forest, if you're around any Native American people, they're like, oh, that was the dear woman. I wonder what he did. Like immediately. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So I didn't know it was so steeped in the culture, but it is because Native American women that I've talked to have told me that, and I'm like, ooh, that's really interesting.
Good validation. Yeah.
And it's mostly the people that I've talked to are from the Osage tribe, Osage, just so you know. So maybe if you're a Native American, you're like, that's not in my history. Letting you know it's the Osage tribe. That's who I've talked to, and the Choctaw tribe. Those are the two that I've talked to. So it could just be in that lineage, but yeah.
Wow. Well, so another word, don't piss off this dear woman. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're being lured out into the forest by a beautiful woman, maybe check yourself a little bit. Like, what did I do? Am I safe? Yeah. So that's yeah.
We kind of hear that similar too with like succubuses and sirens in a way. So
yeah,
that's almost like what it acts like to me. That's anyway, like some sort of siren. But then again, you and I have, and everybody else like Jody and Gabrielle have talked about, well, maybe not yet for you guys, but I've also been wondering with some of these weird cryptids, and I wanted to chat with you guys about it. So I guess here's a little teaser for Heather, I guess, for like maybe a future collab thing, which you would already have a better prepared statement probably next time. But for now, I'm getting to the point where it makes me wonder with like the different states. And I know we talked about the idea of that one TV show. Maybe it was Paranormal State or something else. I can't even remember now. But they tried to do like that whole live TV thing where like you focus through the TV to bring like that energy to make whatever that they were trying to do happen. Yeah. So what if we take that theory, but not through like TV, but like the state? So, like, in this case, perfect example, Vermont sees Bigfoot as, like, an inside joke. So, a lot of people are not going to take it seriously.
Right.
Whereas we can say Oklahoma now, since you just kind of said it prior, per, like, capita of sighting, right? So, Oklahoma has all that belief where maybe the manifestation of all these sightings can happen because everybody is believing that it is out there versus not being out there because, that can't exist. Yeah.
Like a thought intention experiment.
Exactly. Yeah. So if it's so strong, can we make the phenomena basically more like solid? Is that why Bigfoot is more solid versus anything else? And that's why it's able to leave like the footprints and stuff. If that makes sense. But at the same time, it is like a flesh and blood thing. So how would I word that? Like I just, real quick, Heather, is like I just listened to a podcast talking about this guy from I can't remember the year now, 18 something. They called him Peter. he was supposedly like a hybrid. I just listened to something about that, and I was just like, well, they're just flesh and blood, but then, you know, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, Bigfoot's one of those ones where the more that I think about it and the more that I do research on it, the more I don't think it's flesh and blood. But that's just my opinion. I have a hard time with the flesh and blood. Now, before I started researching it, before I actually started going out into the woods, oh yeah, I totally thought it was flesh and blood. I remember my mom telling me the story about somebody his name was Eric, and he had a big piece of property in Missouri, of all places, and he said that he would see them move in and out of space and time, like they would literally like glimmer, and then they would disappear, and then they would come back. And I was like, "Your friends are crazy!" Like Bigfoot. I've seen the Patty footage. It's flesh and blood, right?
Yeah.
But then when you go into the woods and when you actually start to do the actual investigating, different story. The things that I have experienced, either it's something mimicking Bigfoot or Bigfoot is transdimensional. That's all there is to it. There's just weird things that happen. Mm-hmm. That you're like, it can't be. It can't be flesh and blood. This is going to be. How can they be two places at once? You know what I mean? Unless there's two of them, and then you're like, okay, why would there be two of them? But then maybe there is two of them. But just some of the experiences, the voices in one place and then in another place, how are they doing that? Just, I don't know. There's things that, or having REM pods go off, or the lights. They love, anytime that I've gone to do Bigfoot hunting, they love the cat balls. And I'm like, how are they doing that? Unless it's something else mimicking, or it's another phenomenon that I'm attributing to Bigfoot, which could possibly be. But it's very not flesh and blood. It's kind of the opposite.
Well, what about the side of the coin for those that say, like, you know, the cat balls are kind of BS paranormal tools? I know. I'm just trying to think of the question while I'm doing it.
Because, well, first of all, they probably haven't used cat balls. I noticed a lot of people that don't use cat balls tell me that I'm doing it wrong. And I'm like, okay. So the other thing too is people think that and I know Gabrielle talked about this too, but in the chat, like, someday we're just going to have to, like, just talk about the chat. But,
perfect, because I haven't used it, so it would be good for me. So I'm the only one that hasn't used them yet, so I can come up with all these weird, like, skeptical questions for you guys.
Right, exactly. So they're actually a lot harder to get to work than you think. Like, I wasn't joking when I said, yeah, I usually have to kick them to get them to go off. Like, because you can throw them on the ground and they won't go off. Like, I've literally, like, walked around them just to see if I could get them to go off myself because I'm bored or whatever. It's actually really hard to get them to go off unless you, like, really hit them. And in the last documentary I did, I have them sitting on a like some rocks, and I hit it with my finger and it goes off because I went cluck. But, like, you literally have to, like, hit it. You can't just walk by them. They're not that sensitive. They're literally meant for cats to hit. So you have to, like, thunk them. That's the one thing. The other thing, people are like, oh, well, if they roll, they start to, like, go off. Sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yep.
Not really, though. Again, it has to be a lot of momentum. I've literally seen cat balls, like, I'll put them on a stage and the stage is completely flat and there's nobody on the stage, and they'll start rolling and they'll go off. I was
about to ask that.
Yeah, and I'm like, how are they rolling? Because I've literally tried different kinds of cat balls too. There's littler ones and bigger ones and stuff, and they'll all start to roll. And I'm like, but then you put other things up there that are round, they don't roll. And it's only like in one spot. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just centrifugal force. Now there was a wood floor. And I can guarantee you, I know exactly where the cat ball is going to go off because there was a dent in the wood right there.
Right.
And so anytime I put cat balls in that area, I'd be like, right here, it's going to go off. And it usually would. And that's because there was a dent. But you can notice it. Like, they're really noticeable things. It's when they're like, I've literally had cat balls go off in the middle of the forest where like they're on top of rocks and like they're stuck in the rock so they can't move. I had a person up 300 or 400 feet away from me, up on a cliff, asking for the cat balls to go off. None of us are standing by the cat balls, and they start to move and go off. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, no way. Everyone's like, oh, it's the wind. I'm like, it's not the wind. Like, I literally wedged the cat balls into the rocks. Like, they're not going anywhere. And with that, it was Sean, my friend Sean, and he's like, if he asked this Bigfoot presence, if I walk up the ledge and I make myself vulnerable and stand here in the dark, will you make the cat balls go off? And I was like, you're stupid. And he's like, I'm going to do it. Let's just prove the point. So he, like, it's the middle of the night in the dark, and he walks up this ledge, and he goes and he stands on the top, and he goes, okay, I'm up here vulnerable. And the cat balls go off. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of this time. I think it was kindred spirit that did some sort of experiment like this. I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, I'm getting it confused with another damn show. But they basically went to this haunted place, and they used the SC method. But what they did was, one person was like in the building in a one room, and then they brought the other one to like a different either section of the same building or a completely different section entirely, and we're just like, hey, bring this message to this person at over there, and let's see if we can confirm if it has a actually, you know what? I think it was kindred spirit now that I think about it, and I think it was Gettysburg where they attempted this because they wanted to see if the spirits were traveling to different buildings. So they were basically had this keyword, and they said it in this one particular building, and when they did it again, it was like that keyword made it from this building now into this other different building. So maybe it's something similar to that.
It is, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned kindred spirits because they've done a few things like that with SCs, and they did that in the Fee House as well, something very similar to that. Mm-hmm. Which is really interesting because the Fee House is a strange. I've been to the Fee House, and they did something similar where they thought that there were two spirits embodying the same space but didn't know about each other. And so they were talking to one person was doing SDs talking to one spirit, and the other one was talking to the other spirit, and they were talking to each other, but they didn't know that they were inhabiting the same space. And I thought that was very interesting, because I always talk about thought forms, but here we go. The Fee House is one of those places where me and Stephanie walk in and we're like, thought forms. They're thought forms. These are not real people. Like, and I knew it. And I went in there myself one time. And there's a video somewhere, and I can't find it for the life of me. But there is things going off in this one area. The blue room is what we call it. But anyway, because there's a blue fireplace, and somebody lit themselves on fire there. But anyway, long story. But they always try to talk to the spirits in that room. And I'm watching things go off. Like it's answering. There's like a little music box that's going off. There's lights going off. I'm like, this is really, really interesting. Why is this spirit so active? And I'm like, why can't I feel it? And why would this particular spirit do these particular things? Because she was kind of a bitch in real life. Like, it's not somebody that would be like, let's play. And both people that died in that house died of really, really, like, one lit herself on fire, and the other one, well, they say that she accidentally drank poison, but I swear she killed herself. That's just my opinion. That's not the official statement, but there are some shenanigans happening in that house. And I'm like, why would these particular spirits be like, oh, let's blink the lights? And I was like, they have to be thought forms. They have to be. And then Stephanie came in and went, yeah, they're thought forms. There's no like interactiveness here, because when we went in together and did an investigation by ourselves with nobody there, the stuff that we got was so contrary to what like the actual investigation source material was. And so we talked to the owner at the time, and he was like, yeah, you guys are pretty spot on about there's a few things that you got wrong. And I'm like, we always do, but yeah, for the most part. And I was like, that's interesting, because what we're getting is lining up with the actual history of the place. And what people are getting are parlor tricks, essentially. And so when Kindred Spirits went to that place and did that experiment, I was like, that's really interesting, because they're getting stuff similar to what we were getting. And we thought there was some kind of time dilation in that house or something weird going on, because we had one spirit that was wandering in places, and there was another spirit, and they weren't talking to each other. There was no communication with these people, even though they all lived in the same house. And so when I saw that episode, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. We have two spirits in the same house that died at different periods of time, who aren't even talking to each other. They have no access to each other. And then there are other spirits in that house that have no idea about those two. It's like this thing. But what's really interesting about that house is it lit on fire like 3 times. And I don't know what fire is about that. But every time I went into that place, I was like, oh, there's going to be a fire. Because you could just sense it, that there was like so much fire energy. And last time I was there, I was like, oh my God, there's going to be a fire here. And then I think it was like a year later, we drove by and we investigated the place again, and the whole front of the side of the front of the house lit on fire. Right where I was.
Do you think it was the spirit that caused it, or do you think it was just something else?
I want to say it was a spirit. That was my thought process. She died. She accidentally lit herself on fire, and it just happened to be her room where the fire happened. But like it was so precognitively there that like I was like, I think there's gonna be a fire here. Like I'm pretty sure like fire is a big thing here, and like there was a big hole in the side of the building where the fire started. So yeah, I do actually. But again, that's not in line with what these other people were getting, and no shade to them, because they were getting great stuff. But like, I'm like, it's a thought form. It's a thought form that knows how to do parlor tricks. That's like you've literally trained it to interact in a certain way. And that's totally fine. I mean, go ahead and interact with it all you want. But the actual people that are there are on this whole other thing. One likes to start fires, and the other is not happy. They're not happy, like, go lucky, let's blink lights kind of people. They're like kind of still in their trauma. So it was kind of interesting. I don't know. That was in Arkansas though. I wrote about that actually in one of the books. I can't remember which one, but
Eerie, Arkansas, maybe. Or maybe that other one I saw.
Maybe that one.
Arkansas.
I don't know. The stuff in the third book, a lot of it was stuff that I held back on with Eerie, Arkansas, a lot of it was like, all right, now I can talk about this, because there was no, like, sometimes you have to have a narrative for books, you know what I mean? Eerie, Arkansas, like, is more like, not fun. I wouldn't say it's fun, but it's definitely like a certain flavor. And I'm like, some of these stories are too dark. And so when I wrote Forgotten Places, I was like, all right, now we can kind of get into the nitty gritty of things. So now we can kind of like I could be a little bit more,
open to it.
Yeah, macabre about like and also too, like, when you talk about thought forms, people get really mad.
That's fun.
And I'm actually I'm going to be doing a talk on thought forms, and like basically the whole premise is everything you've been interacting with, you made up. You made it up yourself, like you did it to yourself. And it's just like, I'm going to be talking about the Fee House, and I'm going to be talking about like the Crescent and a few other places that I've been, and the fact that I created a ghost. So I know you can create ghosts, and then you can get pictures of them and EVPs, and people talk about them like they're real. And I'm like, no, I just made that up. And people can get evidence. So I'm going to be talking about that. But then you sent us that clip of the guy saying it on Coast to Coast, and I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
Nope, not the only one. That's
and his premise was basically everything you encountered, you probably made it up.
Yep. Yeah. It's just interesting because it's like, I don't know if we could have actually have gotten to that point, let's just say 2 decades ago, right? Because we're still in the process of learning what the hell was going on to begin with. Nowadays, with like everything, I mean, if everything is energy, then what is the whole borderline between fact and reality kind of thing?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if we really want to talk about it, like, okay, so, and I know we talked about this in one of the collabs that we did with Gabrielle and Jody, so I'm sure it's in your back catalog somewhere. I know it's in mine, but we talk about how, like, even in the 90s, like, in the 2000s, when did Ghost Hunters come out? Like 2006, 2007, around there?
Yeah, it was like 2000, 2004, 2005.
Okay, yeah. So it's around that time. The idea of psychic investigation was like, no, that's not real. Like, if you were a psychic and you investigated, that was like the worst thing you could possibly do. And I know Paranormal State came along, and they had a lot of more like empaths and psychic people on that show. But Paranormal State was like so demon oriented that you couldn't really take it seriously, because you're like, oh, all psychics think that everything is a demon, and so that's kind of where it went. But the idea of a psychic investigator was like nonsense. And now I think we have more of a balanced perspective on it, where a lot of investigative teams that I know of have resident psychics. They have their psychic empath people go in first and kind of tell them, like, this is where you put your equipment, this is where the stuff is going to happen. So you have your baseline tech person, and then you have your psychic person that comes in with the baseline tech person and tells them, this is where I'm feeling things. And then the tech person's like, okay, these are the readings in these areas. So, like, we rely on it more.
Mm-hmm.
But before, it was like, if you didn't have a van and a bunch of tech shit and a thermal camera, then what were you doing? You know what I mean? Like, there were no cat balls back then. That was just not a thing, you know. Like, I remember in certain investigations using those plasma balls and putting them in the middle of a room to see if I can get interaction with them, which is like almost a cat ball. You know, they're talking about the plasma balls where you touch them and they go zzz.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it took me a minute because I was just like, what's she talking about? But then you said, you don't see those that much anymore.
No, but I used to put them in the middle of rooms to see if I could get something to communicate with them.
Right, but I'm saying, like, you don't see that anymore, like that device anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Really.
Yeah, we used to have 2 of them, and people are like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm all like, why are you trying this? This is actually really cool. Because when it zips, you're like, what? Okay, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Like, but it's the same premise of like an REM pod or anything else. It's just try what you have. And then, like I used to use Ouija boards all the time or talking boards. People used to think that was fucking crazy. Well, people still think that's crazy when I pull them out. But this is in Oklahoma. And I haven't written about this yet, but I have had such good paranormal things happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, outcome with talking boards. Just recently, so my sister is actually going to be doing a little doc about it because we went into this house. She's doing murder mysteries there now, and she does ghost tours there. But we did our grand opening there like 2 months ago, and we just did a walkthrough, me and Stephanie, and like she invited like 10 other people, and so we went through like a whole walkthrough of the house because nobody else has investigated it. And so we went into, she had got a parlor dining room area, and so we set up the parlor with candles and stuff and put the Ouija board down that she picked up from Salem. So
nice.
We I don't know if we used that one or if we used another one, but the Salem one was somewhere in the room. I can't remember. I don't anyway, we put down the board and we did something with the board, and we got so many hits by accident because we're like, whatever. We just kind of went through the whole thing, and we went down into the basement and did SDs, and we had some cat balls go off in the living room because Sean was there, and he's like, does anybody in this room want to drink and party? And so he brings out like alcohol and some tobacco, and all of a sudden the lights go off, and I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. So we had this a little bit of activity, and I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. That was a fun time. And then my sister goes over the footage just recently, and she had talked to the people that owned the house prior, and she's like, yeah, everything that happened is actually accurate to the people that lived here before. And I was like, what? Oh. She's like, yeah. She's like, the Ouija board session was really interesting because once we talked to the people that owned the house before, it all lines up. And I was like, down to names of people and stuff. And I was like, well, that's interesting.
Right.
It's interesting because at the time we're like, well, that was fun. The SDs too, like the things we were getting in SDs, we were like, oh, I don't know. I think it was Stephanie was like, I see a wedding photo like album, and I don't know why. And later on, they're like, oh, there was a wedding at this house. And I was like, okay, that's interesting that there was a wedding, and in the basement, Stephanie's talking about a wedding album of some sort. Stuff like that. Just really random weird things that we didn't think actually meant anything at the time. We're like, well, that was fun. Everybody had fun. And then it turns into like stuff that's actually very accurate. And it's just using like all those shitty things that back in the day, people were always like, you can't do that. That's not how you investigate. And now that's the stuff that works for me. I mean, I use the tech stuff too. I mean, if you really want me to be techie, I can. I know how to read baseline, and I know how to like be techie, but that's so boring.
Right. Well, so this is interesting to me because when I talk, I haven't talked to you about it yet, and for your show, but I've mentioned it a few times on probably somebody else's, but I can think of one for sure. But anyway, anytime I bring up like the farmhouse incident that me and my friend had because he had lived there with this poltergeist activity that we had at the farmhouse, I always sometimes mention about watching, ghost hunters or whatever. But what was weird is this happened like before Ghost Hunters was ever on the air. So it's so weird because from what I'm seeing, the hit paranormal reality series Ghost Hunters premiered on October 6th, 2004. I swear that there had to have been something before then, like early 99, 2000 or something, because that just doesn't sound right to me unless maybe the activity happened so much before then that it made it seem like Ghost Hunters was actually on the air at the same time, which is so weird because I wouldn't even know what to call that then. Because if it happened prior to Ghost Hunters being on air, then how the hell did we get the idea to start looking for the logical explanation? Unless we just decided it would be the logical explanation just because of the fact that he had a sister, but she never really pranked us, as far as we're aware, which is odd.
There's a show called Most Haunted that was on.
Most Haunted. I don't think it was that because
that was a UK show though.
Yeah, not Most Haunted Places in America. There we go. Yeah, it's British television show.
Yeah.
Haunted. Yeah, 2002. No, I don't remember this one.
Okay. That one was hilarious. That is the greatest show ever. If you want some great theatrics, that show was amazing. Derek Acora, oh my God, he is the worst psychic ever, but the most entertaining of all. I used to watch that show just for the shenanigans. And I'd be like, you were so fake, but so fun.
Yeah, here's a little rundown for it. I'll have to look it up now because it's saying it's free to watch on Pluto TV and Tubi, so I'm going to have to look this up now. So anyway, the little plot to this says a group locks itself into a haunted location for 24 hours in order to explore the science and psychology of haunting, or psychology, of hauntings, as well as an intangible evidence of life after death. Presenter Vetty Fielding, I think.
That Fielding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a team of paranormal investigators visit locations in Britain, the United Kingdom, Europe, and the United States, hoping to document evidence of paranormal activity. So that's interesting. But yeah, now I'm like, though, second guessing this like Ghost Hunter thing because it definitely happened before the Ghost Hunter show came out, though. I know that because we were in middle school when this farmhouse stuff was going on. Because once we went into high school, I wasn't able to see Justin that much afterwards because he had moved out and stuff. So this is weird. Unless we had some sort of time slip and Ghost Hunter was on at the time of the middle school thing, but that doesn't sound right to me. But it's just so weird now. I don't know how else to say that, but it is very weird.
Memories are weird like that too. I don't know. But with Most Haunted, you gotta find the ones with Derek Acora because he gets possessed so many times in the show. Like I think it's like 15 or 20 seasons, but like he keeps getting possessed, and the more he gets possessed, the more hilarious it gets. But yeah, Ghost Hunters really changed like television. It changed a lot of reality TV. You know, because if Ghost Hunters can do it for plumbers, I remember that part. Then they're Roto-Rooter, right? Which is so funny to me now.
And then look at Ghost Adventures and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's a good point. So it kind of changed how we thought of reality TV because it's like, plumbers by day, investigators by night. And now we use that kind of TV. That's kind of what TV is now. So it's kind of interesting that it did kind of change them out.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating for sure of how things have changed over the last. I can say probably the last 2 decades, maybe 3 decades, really, because I mean, even the way books are written nowadays, between how it was for like these paranormal stuff to now,
Yeah.
like there's a big shift for sure. I mean, there's author, everybody knows him in his work. It's Jeff Belanger. He
Yeah.
just he just he just said he put out some new book, or is going to be putting out a new book, but it's like a revamp of an old book he had. But what's so different about this one is he's taking out old stories because they've been like too old or too debunked or something, that it's just time to get rid of them, kind of thing. So, I think it's like Haunted Places or something, like for
Hmm.
the third volume or something.
I remember that book.
Yeah. So again, it's out there, but yeah, it's just fascinating that we're now taking away stories because they either been debunked or something else happened.
I mean, do you investigate different than you did 20 years ago? I'm sure you do, but I mean,
Oh yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, I mean, I'm more respectful now, but I think that's
yeah.
because you know when you first getting into it, I would say I would more that skeptic trying to be like that push on where it's just like,
Mhm.
well, if you're so big and bad, just can't to prove me, kind of thing. Whereas now I'm like, basically trying to say like, look, I'm just here to get your story, or reach out to me or whatever. Like I told the story with you now and stuff with like Teresa, Jacobs, Stur, Sturtevant, I think is how you pronounce that name. But yeah, I mean, like she reached out to us last year, and basically like, what is it? Almost 11 months later, I finally find the proof thing that I've been searching for the past like month. After that, I could find everything else except for like her cause of death. I found like her death certificate, but it never had a cause of death of how she died. Couldn't even find newspaper clipping. Tried reaching out to the town historical end, even our own like Vermont Historic Society. They had nothing on that. And then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, newspaper.com just randomly happened to scan this one specific newspaper that had the answer this whole time. Why though? And
Right.
what's funny about this though is a week prior I had looked, and then when I went into another recording with for the listeners or viewers, it was with Susan Fair. She's the one that actually found it because she was curious to helping me and see if she could dig up anything. And she's the one that pretty much found that new article that basically confirmed how she died, which was the initial thought prior to finding this of how I thought she had died.
So it's interesting because, like, before I was more rigorous about, like, I have to find the evidence, with the equipment and stuff. Even as a psychic investigator, I was very much about, like, gotta find the evidence. And now I'm very much like you. I'm like, well, we'll just wait for the synchronicities to happen. Like, I got this information that was interesting. Now, where is it going to take me? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we're starting. I'm like you. I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be a clip of it somewhere. It's going to find me sometime because I'm searching for it, right? So I think investigating now for me, and what I'm hearing from you is that it's more like, okay, I went to the investigation, but that's like only where it starts. It doesn't end until you get all the pieces together, which can take years sometimes, or it's sort of like a whole rabbit hole of things that happens.
It's definitely rabbit holes because, like, when I went to this place, just in case maybe somebody has not heard this, so here's a little nutshell version of this, people. It's actually up on my hauntedvermont.org website, where I kind of talked about this Teresa thing that happened back in May of 2025. So check that out. I haven't updated anything yet because I've been trying to figure out how I want to present this, because hopefully this Friday, as of this recording, I'm going to be going back there to maybe see what happened next. Just basically say, like, hey, if you're still here, Teresa, this is what I found. You know, you can move on now, kind of thing. Like, it's because she was reaching out to us to try to figure out why she was still here, even though she didn't. This is the way I took it. I should back up for a minute. This guy had a ghost app, which I am obviously like, I don't know how I feel about ghost apps. Anyway, this thing started to go off and say certain things that it made me question the app even more. Like, did it know who was already buried here, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, some of the stuff that it said really caught my interest, which is why me and him kind of were looking into it, and made me want to reach out to the Historical Society to give me more information on these particular people, which is more interesting because back in the day, these two kind of like lived nearby, and they were young, so they married young, but they were like both families were like farmers, which is interesting. I just find it interesting just because it's like they were so close, but yeah, both families were farmers. But I guess that's what you did back in like the 1800s, really. And everybody knew each other, especially where they were. So it made perfect sense. But the point to this is like the app started to say like, can you see me? Am I dead? Stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh boy, like here we go. But then it started to name off names and stuff like that, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. But then it wasn't until after I started to do that research, which is, I guess you could say, I want the environment to speak to me, and therefore give me something to go by, and then I can start looking into it, kind of like what we were talking about. So I guess now it made me do that research where I want to go back and present it and be like, look, this is how you died. You died the same way, just like your husband did 2 years after you had passed away. Even though I couldn't find the physical proof at that time, but now I do. Now I have the confirmation.
Yeah, that's really interesting. See, that's the thing too. I think investigation has become more intuitive, even though we don't realize it. Like, I'm very dubious about ghost hunter apps too. I think they're all silly, but sometimes I've used them and gotten very interesting information where I'm like, that kind of tracks. And then I'll go and look up the research myself to kind of see if it's right or not. And a lot of times it is, but just not in the way that I think it is. But it gets me going in that direction. You know, it just gives me the inspiration to like move forward. And I think now before I used to be interested in the evidence, as I said, but now I'm more interested in the people. Like, I just want to know their stories and like who they are, who's a thought form, who isn't, why is the thought form there, why are the real people there, like what's going on. Like, I'm more interested in the mechanics of it and the energy of it versus like, is it real? Like,
yeah, it just sounds like we sort of talked about last time, which I think would bring up to your book. I think it was Ghost Towns and Forgotten Places.
Yeah, because like I'm not really interested in the mechanics of it. Well, I am interested in the mechanics of it, but like not in the same way where like, is it real? Like, my suspension of disbelief is great now. Like, it's real. Now what? Like, okay, well, what about people? Why are they here? What are they doing here? Like, can you move the cat ball? Great. Okay, why are you moving the cat ball? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I go in with this curiosity of more like just and I've talked to Stephanie about this too, and on our podcast, about how like we go in with no expectation, just with curiosity, just to kind of see what happens. And I think that's why we are very good at investigating, is because of that. Because we're not like, oh, we have to get EVPs, we have to get this, we have to get that. Like, we don't care. At the end of the day, we don't care.
I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. But at the same time, we're not like striving for that. I'd rather have a really impactful personal experience where I'm looking for the other person and like their story and what's going on with them, then oh my god, I have this EVP that says get out. Like, how many EVPs in the last 20 years have you gotten that say get out? Like,
right. Leave me alone. Yeah, get out.
Get out. It's like every day. Every time I go investigating, get out. Or I'm a demon. I'm like, I don't care anymore. Like, you go do demon things. I don't care, whatever. Like, leave me alone.
Go summon cats for all we care. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever.
Yeah. So one thing that really caught my attention for a name, because when I was doing the research for Teresa and them, there was a response on the app for like a Dana, Dana.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't catch it right out of the gate when I was first doing this research until I was like writing this article up and put in the picture to like what I was trying to type up at the time, and that's when it clicked. So Dana was what do they call that on the deceased papers, like the witness?
Uh-huh.
Dana was the one that signed it to basically be the witness, and Dana signed it for both Teresa and her husband who passed away.
Curious. That's very curious.
Yeah. So it's just like, wow, how did I not see this before? You know, like there's Dana right there.
I think the tools, like even with the ghost apps, if you're using them in a certain way, I think they work. I think it's just like with anything. I mean, you don't have to have them, but like I think if you're using them in a way of just like getting synchronicities or intuitive hits or just kind of like to lead you somewhere, I think they work. I think they don't work when you're using them as irrefutable evidence, you know?
No, I totally get it. Yeah. I'll just end this on a comedy note, because I felt like if indeed the spirits there were, you know, interacting with the staff, it was very funny though when we got to this particular part of the cemetery, because like there was some graves that were, you know, supposed to be facing the road, et cetera, but in this particular part, and I actually have a picture to back this up, I just don't have it at the moment. Maybe I can do it while I'm telling the story real quick. But basically, the app was going off when me and the guy named Robert were talking about how, oh, this is weird. Like here's some graves, but we can't read them because they're facing the road. And it's like, well, that's weird. Like, how are you supposed to, like, you know, read them? And basically it got to the point where the app was just like pathetic, and then I was like, yeah, you're right, it is kind of pathetic. And then all of a sudden it was just like, move it, and it's just like, we can't move these gravestones to fit. So yeah, I have the picture. I'm just wondering if here it is. So this is what I was just talking about. So you can clearly tell that he. Let me see if I can bold it up a little bit more. There we go. For the audio, just basically, what do we think of these gravestones that are just right in front of a freaking tree, a bush? You can't even read them. But yeah, this ghost app was just like pathetic, and I was just like, yeah, you're right, it is pathetic. And then it was just like, move it, and I'm like, we can't do that. Like, we can't move the gravestones. So I was like, maybe we could try to act, but yeah, that was the picture though, for sure. But yeah, I just found that really comical and everything else. There was a few other responses that made me start to question the app when it came to like, as far as how much does the app know about this place. Then that's why I was kind of wondering, because at one point it said like blacksmith, which we ended up finding like an anvil in the cemetery. We ended up getting a response called table, and we didn't really know how to take that. But there's literally a big gravestone that's way down like as if it's supposed to be a table. It was so weird and so cool at the same time.
But how would it find the information? Do you think that it's like got some kind of like chat component to it or chat GPT component to it, AI, like some kind of...
See, that's the thing. That's why I tried to reach out to the people to like who made this app to see if they could talk to me about this app of like how much does it know. So yeah, I never got a response, but it makes me wonder how much it knows.
That's interesting. Yeah, but like, how would it know where you are though? Did you say the name of the place?
That's the thing. I don't. That's why I have no idea. Like that's why when I went into this, I was just like, yeah, I don't know how I trust this app. But then it's basically just said like table blacksmith, which and stuff like that. It's just fascinating to me. Like let me see here. Let me see if I can say. Yeah, I found the image of the what they called the table and the blacksmith. Hang on, let me try to save it real quick. But yeah, Heather, while I am working on just saving these pictures, god damn it, was there anything, or was that the main focus when going back to like the platform thing now of when you were doing this Northwest Arkansas one? Like you went there because you figured, a forgotten place like this, it's run down that it should be haunted, and then it ended up not being haunted or something.
Well, there's lots of places in that book that aren't haunted.
Mm-hmm.
They're just interesting places that are kind of just like people don't really go to or they forget about. So that was, you're talking about Rush. I know exactly what you're talking about. But there's lots of places in that one that aren't haunted, and then lots that accidentally were haunted. But Rush is an actual ghost town. It's an old mining ghost town. And that's an interesting one because it has so I have, in the spirit of the place, I have this theory of like certain places have this environment that creates paranormal activity, right? And funny enough, Rush has all of it. It's got trauma, it's got mining, so it's wounded earth, it's got running water, it has nuclear power near it within an hour away. It's got running water, it's got lots of other things. I'm just the top of my list. I don't remember my own thesis, but whatever. I have it written down somewhere. It has all these elements, but there were no ghosts there. And I was trying to figure out why. That was so interesting to me because I'm like, this is like one of the most peaceful places I've been. And I know there have been mining cave-ins. I know there have been people that died there. I mean, they're in the history books. I mean, this place is like, it's got a lot of history to it and it's all documented. So lots of people died there, and people have talked about it being haunted and about how they've heard the spirits of the people screaming in the mines and all of that. But when we went, it was like the most peaceful place ever. Like I could take a nap there. I know. I didn't hear any spirits or anything, and there's water right across the street from the place. Again, we have the wounded earth, the scorched earth. We have everything that you probably need for a haunting, except this one place. So it is the exception to the rule, and I'm still trying to figure that out. The only thing that I can think of is there's no bridge or like nuclear power plant or major electricity in that area, and there's no cell phones because like my cell phone was dead the whole time. Maybe that's it, but nuclear one is like an hour away. It's not that far.
I think I asked you this last time, but would there like any limestone or granite or anything that would like be around that area?
No. Maybe that's the issue.
Maybe.
But I was surprised because it's the exception to the rule. And I remember in the book there is a whole section about us talking about it because I was with my mom and some other people, And we were like, how do you feel about this place? And everyone's like, it's chill. This is like the most chill place I've ever been with you. Like everyone was kind of surprised because usually I take them to crazy ass places and I'm all like, surprise. This place was so
weird.
relaxed. And zinc is what they mined there. Zinc.
Well, real quick, because I have some images now. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring it onto the stage right now. So I guess we could just blah, blah, blah. Let me see here. Da, 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 da. Yeah, there we go. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. Trying to figure out this whole stupid thing. Okay, we'll just leave it like this for now. Anyway, so it's a full image of this thing. So this is what my friend's app sort of said. I wasn't able to get all the stuff, all the screenshots from him, but here I can confirm that there's your Dana, and this is where it said blacksmith. This is where we got the Teresa. This is where it also said, "Am I dead?" And then it started to say, "He hurt me," and then it's hiding and stuff like that. It was a weird moment. But so just to confirm with this, so here is the blacksmith that is in the the cemeteries. So there's the blacksmith, and here's what we would call a table. That's what I would assume. So yeah, that's why I'm saying like I just don't know how else to take that. It's like, did it know that there was a grave already there? Like that's what I guess what I was trying to figure out, because it's just weird, and that's why I was just saying it. So again, I just want to show, like, I think it's this one. Yeah. So right there, number 75, it said Dana, D-A-N-A. So that right there was the name on the deceased paper, which I will bring up real quick. So here's the first one, which it would be Teresa, who passed away first. And I'm going to blow this up real quick. But yeah, right here it says full name of the deceased is Jacob Teresa. And she was 19 years old. She was married to Albert Jacobs. Teresa had died on January 19th of 1852 at the age of 19. She's buried in Evergreen, which is in New Haven. And as you see down at the bottom where it says attest, that says Dana.
It does, yeah.
So there's one. And then let's bring up real quick the husband, just to kind of wrap up this thing that I just want to show for people is here's Jacobs. So here we go again. So name of the deceased is Jacobs Albert. He was 27 supposedly. I've heard 26, 27. So I guess it all depends on where you read it. Who was married to Teresa Jacob. This time Albert died August 12th of 1854. So basically a little over 2 years after Teresa had went. But once again, down at the attest, it's the same person.
Yeah, Dana. It is. Oh, that's interesting.
So, again, how would this app know that? And that it somehow the app itself could pull, like we were talking about, some sort of AI thing.
Like some sort of large language model or something like that. But
yeah. But
you would have to ask it very specific questions, though. I mean, like, with chat or with any AI, even the ones now attached to like Google, because now you make a Google search and then it asks you more questions. Sometimes I go down that rabbit hole, but
yeah, it's just weird.
You have to ask very specific questions to get very specific answers. So I don't know how it would know to give you the name Dana unless you're asking very specific questions. But then it would have to.
I wasn't.
Right, and then it would have to look up the death records, and I know you were even having trouble looking up the death records. Were you not?
Yep.
So
yes and no. Like I found those kind of quickly. I just could not find like the cause of death for Teresa.
Okay. Yeah. So like that would be. I don't know. It's not without. It's not within. It's not. It's not that it's not there, but it would require a whole lot of work.
Right, but I guess what I'm trying to say too is like it took me 11 months to even get the proof that I needed for Teresa that she had indeed, in fact, died from tuberculosis, just like her husband, because I did find a newspaper article that did confirm to me that Albert Jacob did die from tuberculosis. So that's when I was just like, see, now this would make me wonder Teresa died from tuberculosis.
Right.
Even though I do not have that confirmation, but it would make sense.
Right. Yeah, so. It's just, I don't know if an app can do that. I'm not savvy enough. I just know that when I'm looking up stuff, even with Google and Google's whatever it's called, I don't know, Copilot, I think, or whatever.
Yeah.
It misses a lot of stuff.
Totally.
And it doesn't even know about the Wayback Machine. Like, I ask it to look stuff up in the Wayback Machine, and it gets confused. So I don't know if an app on your phone could do that, but it might. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I like the Huff Paranormal stuff, because when you have an app from Huff Paranormal, you can go on the website and look up every aspect of how that app was made, and it gives you everything, so you know exactly what it's doing and why and how.
Yeah, I think it was called like GhostTube app.
Oh, it's GhostTube?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
So GhostTube is an app that has a certain, it says it only has 750 words, but I've heard it say some really more words. Yeah. I was wondering if it was Ghost App, because in Ghost App, He Hurt Me is a really popular one. I'm Scared, Get Out, Run, those are really popular. Am I Dead is a big one with GhostTube.
What was the other one that said? Can You See Me?
Can You See Me is really popular with GhostTube as well.
Yeah, so that's why, like, even when it was going off, and if I couldn't hear what it said, I was asking him, like, after a few seconds, if it was, like, allowed me to look. But I didn't really take it seriously until the ending, because we were trying to look around while we were just walking around to make sure, like, we weren't overstepping, like, a Teresa or something. But at that time, we couldn't find it. It was actually 24 hours later when my lady came to town. We had found her then, so because she had helped me try to find them.
But like Dana's a very specific name to be in a 750 word thing. That is right. So I think sometimes it, especially if you're using like the voice box one, I think sometimes things get through. I don't know. With GhostTube, I've had some really incredible, like, whoa hits. And then when it says, Am I Dead? I'm like, okay, turn it off now, because it's just saying stupid stuff.
Yeah, when it said that, I was just like, oh boy. That's why, like, I was just like, okay.
Or but then when it says, like, it'll say things like redemption and Jesus. And I'm like, okay. Really? Okay.
I don't remember redemption. I don't remember
it says
that
redemption
either.
A lot.
The only other thing I remember was it did say angel, and there was a like a angel thing in the cemetery. So that's why I was just like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it says angel, devil, demon, Jesus, redemption.
Yeah, the common stuff that you would hear. Yeah. That's why I can't really take the app too serious that time. So
yeah, it's an interesting app, because like sometimes it's like hit, you're like, okay, that was too much of a hit, and then other times you're like, okay, you're just playing me now. Go away.
Well, that's why it made me to rethink of the app, and I don't mean to rant with this one, but it's just like when it after, it said can you see me? Am I dead? I kind of would just like shrugged up, but then I also was answering to it like it was actually what are we asking?
Right.
And because I was just like, no, we can't see you. And then when it was just like, am I dead? And I'm like, well, yeah. So that's why it made me wonder and that's why I found it weird that Teresa was the only family member I could not find a cause of death to, but I could find everybody else's cause of death.
Yeah, it is to see that even in that capacity, with the context, it is kind of interesting that it said it. I don't know.
And she was the only one that I could not find a cause of death for. That's why I just found it odd. So
you want to hear something funny? Like, okay, here we go. Let's. So remember we were talking about Sarah at the castle and at the hotel?
Yes, for your podcast. Yep.
So 90% of the conversations that I've heard people have is through GhostTube with her.
Huh.
Yeah. So the people that I have had experience talking to her, they've all gone through GhostTube and like had full-on conversations with. So I just find it interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Again, it is what it is, I guess. I don't even know where to go with it anymore.
I know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's just fascinating. All right, Heather. Well, before we blabber on anymore, and I apologize for everybody else, if you gotten this far, awesome. You deserve a cookie and a pat on the back. So let's just recap real quick. So Heather here has been known for Eerie, Arkansas, which we sort of talked about last time because of the haunted howler and a spook light incident. And then now we were sort of talking about Eerie, Oklahoma. And we kind of went into again of the ghost towns and forgotten places of Northwest Arkansas, which is fun because it's just fascinating of how some of these things like intertwine and everything. Which, speaking of intertwining, before I do end it on this note, Heather, is during the 2 month information for area Oklahoma, were there any sort of stories that kind of coincide with one another at all? You know what I mean? Like in a specific area, maybe?
Oh, not really with that book. They were kind of all over the place. There's not anything.
Spread out.
Yeah, nothing that's not like a specific area that I can say. I mean, Mohawk Park is probably the only place, but that place is so big. There's like, it's vast amounts of
everything.
Right. So, I mean, it makes sense because it's a huge acres of land. There's like I said, there's a park, there's a zoo there, there's a museum, and then there's this backwoods area. So there's a lot of coverage. And so, yeah, but I mean, other than that, everything's kind of spread out, which is interesting.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, last time, Heather, again, I'll just say it for real quick. So last time we talked about Spirit of the Place that we can look forward to after you finish collecting this new footage that you need, because now it seems like there's more synchronicities that have happened that make you need to go back to get more. And I think this is the project, too, that you were talking about, right? The Present?
Yeah, The Presence is an interesting one because The Presence is more than one documentary. It's actually going to be a series, and it does have stuff about UFOs and Bigfoot and ghosts, and there's 3 projects going on right now all at the same time with The Presence. The Presence is actually a phenomenon. It's not just one thing. It kind of shows itself how it wants to show itself, and it's very much based on Jacques Vallée's control theory, but also John Keel about synchronicity and about superspectrum. And even now I've been reading, I read it a while ago, but I'm reintroducing myself to Philip K. Dick and his exogenesis and the idea of the pink light in Valis, because there's something to that, this idea that it shows up in the way that it needs to show up, and it ultimately changes your life. And for him, it helped him save his son. in Philip K. Dick and Vallis, it told him, this pink light told him that his son was sick, and then he ultimately saved his son. But that's very John Keel coded, very, very John Keel, because that's very Indrid Cold. You know what I mean? It just shows up and it tells you something and that moves on, and then you're always looking for it and you're always searching for the validity of it. And I think with Philip K. Dick, he kind of went a little nutty about it, but I mean,
it is,
yeah. So, and he doesn't just write about it in Vallis, he writes about it in Exogenesis, and then he writes about it later on in other things because it affected him so much. And I was just re-looking at that because that's what happens. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like I used to I still can't stand Philip K. Dick, but I can't stand his writing at all. But and same with John Keel, when you experience the presence, there's no going back. Like, your life has changed. It completely starts to take over your life in certain ways. If you follow the synchronicities and you follow the bouncing ball, you'll see it in a lot of different ways. And so it shows up in the Fears house when we're doing the Ouija board, what I was talking about. But it also shows up in Roswell. I just went to Roswell and I had this whole weird, I don't want to talk about it because it's going to be in the documentary, but there's like this whole synchronicity of weird freaking things that happen that start with a dog. And I'm just like, what? And I end up in a missile silo with a thing called the Starlight, which is a laser that goes to space that they're trying to get alien communication. And I'm like, what the hell just happened right now? And then the one that's finished is called The Presence at Leatherwood Lake. Yes, that one. And it's I edited it, and then now my sister, who's actually, she edits for a living, she's color grading it and fixing the audio, so it's all it's gonna look really good. But this one is interesting because this is something that we sought out, and we're like, okay, we're gonna try to summon the presence and see if it shows up, and it did. In the course of 4 investigations, it was really interacting with us the whole time, and in weird, strange ways. And I don't know. So we're going to keep going with that, but it's something where I always say, and I guess we could end with this, is that if you stare at the paranormal is going to stare back at you. And the more you look at it, the more it looks back, and the more that it wants to interact with you. So be careful what you wish for, because
once you notice it, there's no going back.
There's no going back. You follow, and especially with synchronicity. And, I used to think that the Mothman prophecies and all that was such BS. But now, now moving into making films about it and writing about it and just living it, I'm maybe there was something to that. Maybe John Keel and Philip K. Dick weren't as crazy as I thought they were. Maybe they just didn't know how to
express it.
Yeah, express it in a way, because they're trying to express it through a logical mind. But there's no logic to it, and so you could worry, or you could literally kill yourself overthinking it if you want. You know what I mean? It's
oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll end it too by saying, if anybody, curious about the, spirit of the place, and this new one, the presence at the Leatherwood Lake, there's some trailers up on your YouTube channel and your website, which real quick, just to get it out of the way. You also do a podcast, so we're going to do that too. It's the enviousalien.com for the podcast, and then you got the enviousalienproductions.com, where you can pretty much keep track of everything that Heather's working on as far as filmed or docu-series. And the last thing that I want to suggest is that, well, since we're talking about these weird, stuff here, when it comes to expressing yourself, look at this book. I'll put it up here, but Goblin Universe. This is Ted Holiday. This is what 1950 or something. I'm trying to remember now. 1986 apparently, but I think this was written like way before then. But because of Colin Wilson here wanted to publish this because he thought what Ted Holiday was talking about was, was onto something. And even though like what Ted Holiday was talking about was way like ahead of its time, he didn't know Ted didn't even like this book. Like he didn't even like it. That's why it stayed on a rough draft. And what we got was basically his rough draft because obviously Ted wasn't around to really fulfill what wanted to really be said, especially I think with the editors, as I had to guess. But like, basically we could say the Goblin universe is what you and I and everybody have been talking about. Like maybe it's just one thing, but we're just calling it a different thing.
Yeah.
So again, here's another book to basically say this was ahead of its time.
Yeah. It's not a new concept. It's just it's morphing into something else now where we're all talking about the same thing. I think we're just talking about it through the lens of our experience. And so I figured, hey, why fight it? Let's just start making movies about it because it's just much easier.
It is much easier.
Like, okay, you exist. I get it.
Now prove it to me. Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all right, Heather. Well, is there anything, I guess, for final comments or anything that you would like to say before we say our goodbyes for now?
I don't think anybody deserves cookies because I think we're freaking delightful. So
Amazing.
They should be happy that we're talking this long.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I mean, when I was recording with you, that was like, 3 hours. So, I mean, there you go with people. I mean, I think the joke for the people listening still would just be, well, at least I gave you enough content for 3 episodes, I hope, because some of the tangents we went into, especially with the whole talking about Sarah and stuff in different locations thing, that's definitely a whole episode on its own.
Yeah, so make sure you look out for it.
Yeah. So, if you have made it this far, you deserve another pat on the back and some oatmeal raisin cookies or whatever the hell you guys prefer for snacks for getting this far. And with that being said, Heather, thank you for your time as always. And until next time, folks, if you stare at it for too long, it's going to stare right back at you and it's going to grab a hold of you and it won't let go. Good night, everybody.